your, quote unquote, I'm using this word loosely, your paintings, they're not art. How would you describe them? Because you know as well.
Well, actually, I have a great answer to that. When I was painting this last dragon, there was a woman here who I thought was really interesting choice of words, but good. She said it's like an energetic laboratory in here, which it is, in truth, right? So then when I was painting Amorous, the dragon, he said, if you think this is an energetic laboratory, just wait till you get into this painting. So I thought that was a great term, okay, that maybe my paintings actually are energetic laboratories of their own. I mean, they're definitely portals and gateways, and we have all different kinds of ways of looking at that. But I think that, I mean, this is a hard thing to really say, like in words, but they're alive. They are a gateway. They pulse. You go in, you come out, as above, so below. You can go all different directions in these paintings. I think the really big difference is coming from, we're moving into a new renaissance again as far as thought and so on. So as artists, what are we doing that's different? Well, the first thing that I'm at least understanding is that we're thinking differently. But everything I do is for healing and transformation. That's my first intention. That's a real different way of looking at art. I don't know if I mean, in truth, I do know. But for most, okay, as we approach this, I don't know if they're going to be sold. I don't know if they're good enough. We all go through all this kind of craziness. But the thing is, what I'm learning, at least as the new, as everyone's talking about, at least as an artist, is only for healing and transformation. There is nothing else. It's not like it's going to be in New York, or it's going to be in this museum, or a career, so to speak. It's only about healing and transformation. I think it's probably true in all different aspects of art. But as far as paintings go, and in truth, I think that's another reason that my work is very powerful, because that's all it is. I don't know that it's going to the Met. I don't know how much it's going to be, and it's not important to me. That's very different than what most artists are saying in relation to either creating, because it's a cliche I get now too, that I'm working for God. I hear that a lot. I would probably expand on that and say that I'm working for lots of gods and goddesses. There isn't just one that's playing up in the heavens that, in the old Renaissance, because I've read a lot, but this has been a big thing for me. I didn't know at the time. I was interested, but I didn't realize it would be something I actually would talk about someday, because now I know the difference. The only patron that you would have in the other Renaissance was the church. There wasn't anything else. And it, like with Da Vinci and Botticelli and other of the famous art, they never got paid anyway. Most of them. Not only by the church, but if they did have a patron, these women that all wanted to be Virgin Mary and Mary Magdalene, you got to understand how different it would be that your actual models and so on are your patrons, right? But probably would never pay you anyway. That was all just about ego. You're one of the most famous artists. I'm going to be Mary Magdalene. Could I really be Mary? Do you see what I'm saying? And of course, it's almost like elusive, right? That we're only working for God and the church, which is totally corrupt at this time. You have to understand, truly, with the Pope and so on. So what are you really doing? So I used to think like Da Vinci's part of Ortesione and all these people, some of these people were alchemists. You had to be an alchemist just to make paint. But where were they really? Well, they weren't like where we are. I see a difference. I feel the alignment with the source. And my patrons are whoever, not the church. There is no religion. In my sense, it's like the school of all mysteries and no mysteries. That's where we're headed for the new Renaissance. The other part, which is even more radical, is where do we get the word in the first place? Working with different mediums. I've learned that it's a specific intention that changes physical matter. We all want to heal the planet, but how? If you just pray and say you want to heal the planet, That's fine. Okay, I'm not going to offend anyone, but it is not powerful. It is not going to make the difference. If you actually say in a specific intention and you're aligned and you voice it, I'm a magician, other people can be singing, dancing, playing music. It's all the same as far as sound. That's what changes physical matter. I did a whole series of paintings, for example, where it's just specific intentions. I have like 600 or something. That's how you change the world, in truth. So even with a specific intention of healing and transformation, do you see what I'm saying? That changes all of it. Now the other thing, like I was saying about mediums, this took a while. A lot of people would argue with me with this, and they still are. But we'll see, okay? Because I've really proved it in this unconscious way. And what I'm going to say is, like, in the new Renaissance, it's not just the mediums, because that was the old. What I'm getting is that it's exactly the same thing. Now, at first, people said, who cares? Think about it. Did Botticelli, did Michelangelo do the Pietà in paint? No. He did it only in sculpture. Does that really make a difference? Think about the whole creative process and what, however you want to say this, how holy, sacred that whole experience was in creating that. Well, if you created it in another medium, the exact same thing, think of how powerful it would be. Mm-hmm. So here at Star Dreaming, it took me a while to get this. I remember arguing with the Rudolf Steiner group, like they said, who the cares? You know, and I'm thinking like, well, and normally I would agree. Who does care? But what if what I'm saying that I learned actually from the Hathors about this specific intention is true? 12 years ago, I did a painting of the 13 grandmothers and grandfather. Now I have, 150 tons in stone of that temple. It's the 13 grandmothers and grandfather. And then I wrote it in both books. I did the same thing with Mary Magdalene. Was the Queen of the Golden Dolphins, is in this book. If you go out there, you'll see a stone that transformed into Mary Magdalene. The whale that's sitting there that's 102 feet is exactly the same whale. It's 3 years before I did the painting. You think there's any connection? You start looking around Star Dreaming, I'm starting to just integrate it myself. You'll see it over and over, and it's the same thing. Why? Because specific intention really does change physical matter. If you are aligned and you have whatever they call it incantation. So, because at first they just said sound healing, and I thought, well, I don't have that. I don't play an instrument. I'm not like you two doing musician. So, well, but being a magician, it's my voice. Mm-hmm. It's my incantation. So when I did these other Metatron paintings, it's a mantra. You know what a mantra is? You keep repeating it. So it's like I allow everything and nothing. I allow everything and nothing. I allow da-da-da-da-da, all the way up. That's how I did them. That's why they're so powerful in that sense. So I don't even know if half the people will agree with what I'm saying, because I'm sure they're going to say, like, what is he talking about? Who cares if he does virtue? Well, I think there is something to it. Otherwise, I don't think I would have created it as the same thing. I could be called a Renaissance man because I'm working in paint and stone. But that's not what I'm saying. In the new, there's a difference of being a Renaissance man or woman. That's what I get. And that's the difference because of that specific intention. Not even just healing and transformation, but how. So for a lot of the paintings, yes, they are portals. They are gateways for that healing and transformation. Do I know what that is in many cases? No, I do not. I'm not going to say that I do. I mean, I'm a messenger, or whatever you want to call it, like others, where I just, in truth, I create the space for people to act whatever they should do. Mm-hmm. I don't know where a lot of these people are going. The really joy for me is when people come back and say, you know, in the Holy Grail, I saw that. You know, when this dragon, I saw, that's what it's exciting for me. Did I know all that when I was doing it? Of course not. I could never contain that kind of information or energy. In most cases.
Yeah, I think that's...
Because it would have stopped me. If I knew I was going to do 116 paintings in 13 years and have, 5 left, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to all of you. I'd be on my first painting.
Still figuring
And unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of people come and say, like, oh, God, if I knew what you knew. And I said, what's stopping you? There's nothing stopping them except them. And they said, well, I would have done this or I would have done that. I went through a lot of that in the beginning, a lot of projection. I always felt everyone else was a lot more evolved. I've only been doing this for a year. These people have been in this for 30 years. So what's the difference? I surrendered. I had to surrender totally. But lots of artists yelling at me all the time. They've got 3 garages full of work. Oh, the Syrian consul told me. It's like, why is the universe dancing around you? Well, it's embarrassing, but the answer is always, I surrendered. Oh, I surrendered. They're screaming and yelling at me. Trust me, they have not surrendered. And they're yelling at you how much they surrendered.
Well, they got an emotional attachment.
Exactly. And that's a big thing, actually. I have a lot of friends around me that would never give or sell, whatever, certain paintings. They have to be in their bedroom. That's one thing I have to say, I didn't have, even from the beginning. I never thought it would ever even be an issue, of course. But it isn't like I had to have something in my bedroom that I would never sell. I never really felt that. And it's nothing that I would even have judgment on them, because I do understand what they're saying. But I also see how it blocks them in relation to what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Because it opens you wide open, you see. And that's the surrender. Most people don't want to be open wide open from what I'm seeing. They like to be open somewhat because they only surrender to a certain point.
They like to have some control and so that they can make sense of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it requires letting go completely and not make sense of it to make sense.
Well, the misinterpretation, first of all, is like they're going to lose something.
Yeah.
I learned in surrender it was about gain.
Lots of gain.
Lots of gain. But in the beginning, it looks like everything's going.
Because you're going to lose everything.
For what you used to do or what you used to make money. And that's the other thing, too. Yep. At the bottom line for a lot of this is just how you're going to make a living. Well, to be an artist is like the last thing I truly, intellectually would pick.
There's a starving artist.
Exactly. How many artists are going to live off their work? Not very many. Not in our society, unfortunately. Hopefully the new Renaissance will change it around and people will be supported. But the way it is now, there's no way. So in my mind, it was like, this is not what I would pick. If I'm going to make money, I'm not going to pick this.
I'm not going to paint to make a living.
Exactly. But I have proven that wrong. But see, in a way, I feel like I really did listen. It was my inner guidance. And I know a lot of you out there, including myself, have said, but they do not know. And I had this guy the other day just yelling at me saying, they lie all the time. And it was in my head sort of like this thing was, because it is true on a certain level, but I had a great term that I brought that I actually created, I think, on some level in my book called Holographic Carrots. Which are all things.
They're all like dangling.
Saying, you should do this, and then, and if you don't do that, then this will happen. So it got very confusing, and I said, you're definitely lying. Plus, I had all these people. I still do. I didn't get married, didn't get the money, didn't get the occupation. Said I was going to be an artist. I hear it over. I'm supposed to get this horse. I hear this all the time. There's no time and space.
Yes. When
they're saying, whether it's guides or angels or whatever you want to call it, which I know both of them agree with me, you don't know when it's going to be. It could be next year, it could be a month from now, it could be 10 years, it could be another lifetime. I've noticed that most of the time when you do ask them, when you do have this awareness, they don't usually tell you. And if they do, I always have, I don't know about you, but I have like a quality control on people. Yeah. When they ask things and they say, oh no, it's supposed to be May 10th. I said, really?
Well, what happened?
Of what year are we talking?
What happened if it comes in 11th?
This year. Well, it's not May 10th this year. It's May 10th. Who knows? It may not even be in this lifetime. Well, for a lot of people, and myself, I did the same thing. We dismiss it if it doesn't happen. We always do. Well, they said it was going to happen, but that's okay. So 5 years later, then it happens.
Well, they don't live on a timeline like we do.
Of course not.
We have the timeline.
We think we know the divine timing. And in truth, we do, I believe, when you come from your higher self. But if you're working on any other plane, like, I really would like to have this in 2 years, or whatever the deal is. Is it James timing? No. That's not going to happen. And we're in a multidimensional reality. It should be infinite.
Yeah.
See, that's, to me, the beginning of all that. Which has probably taken all these years. And this is usually how I start all these presentations or whatever. Is that either it's an unlimited universe or it's not. If it is, then everything must be unlimited. Even the ones that, are a pain in the ass. I mean, the ones that are just, they're not good for our comfort zone. Doesn't mean they're not real.
True.
And that, if we could, that's to me the real essence of a different changing of thinking. If we can start there, then we can really move. Because we all have little areas that we don't think are unlimited. And this is what I get showered with all the time, is people say, well, yeah, everything's going really fine on my sacred, but my marriage is bullshit. And, it doesn't even matter which way it goes. But it's hardly that they think that other areas are unlimited. We limit the unlimited is the fascinating thing.
Often by our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, memories, and our fears.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we do it daily. And what we think. I mean, I have a lot of people that come here that are very sacred and very evolved on many areas, right? But the truth is, once they leave star dreaming, maybe this is the only time they do ceremonies on equinox, right? Or solstice. That's it. Do they have a sacred place or an altar or something in their house? In many cases, no. I mean, it's fascinating to see how we pigeonhole even the sacred. This is one of I think our greatest demise in that sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think we limit those things, and we make it an experience that we had at one time somewhere, rather than making it an experience that we can have ongoing
every moment
in our daily, everyday lives.
I mean, that's what the angels say. Everything is sacred all the time.
Yeah, and that's the mistake. We
the
put
illusion,
it out
Michael
there.
Always says the illusion is like the other stuff, James. All the stuff that all the people walk around think is real is the illusion. He's always, every time I get to a certain, impasse, he always comes through and tells me that. And I know he's right. It's just hard to deal with sometimes.
Yes.
And we're not saying that any of this is easy, per se. But it's not overnight, either.
It's simple, but not necessarily easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I get a lot of people that say, like, they are the Philosopher's Stone, and they are the man, and all this is true. But if you are, you don't need to tell anyone.
Just be it.
That's usually my first red flag. If someone says, I am a master of Kundalini. Are you?
Well, let me tell you how good I am, James.
Yes. Get a lot. You don't have to.
Yes, be it.
And it's not, that's not a judgment. It's just a place of, well, at least the word I've learned, discernment, which is very different. And I will say, I became a master of discernment. Okay.
Run for your life, James!
After many things. Many, 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 many things.